Hello and welcome, and today I'm very lucky I've been able to track down the master himself, Damien Cooley, when he's not on TV knocking down that block or having successful auctions with ourselves and half of the eastern suburbs. He's kindly enough given me some moments of his time that we can talk about what's happening in the marketplace. Thanks, Damien.
Thanks, Rick. Well, it's funny you mentioned about the block, actually, because it looks like that the next series is not too far away from kicking off, and my intel tells me that we're going to be looking for an auction possibly sometime in the spring marketplace around the middle of spring. So it's going to be really interesting.
In Melbourne again?
In Melbourne again,
right,
in Victoria. So time will tell. Hopefully I'll get another start and can do it.
I'm sure there's going to be a bet on somewhere, someone, so some inside running would be appreciated. Yeah. Damien, look, wanted to catch up with you. Some of the results that are coming through in the marketplace are phenomenal. I am a little bit concerned about a couple of things, in particular interest rates and what the banks have been doing recently, what APRA's been doing in terms of changing lending. And I think it's fair to say money's been cheap for a long, long time, and it still is. However, the lending trend is changing, and I think our consumers should be aware of it. What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see how the cash rate or interest rate that we pay affects mums and dads, day-to-day people. If you look at, to buy a property now, a house, even if you look at a very simple example of to go and buy a 3-4 bedroom home, let's just say it's $2.5 million. If you're buying a property for say $2.5 million, you need at least $500,000 as a deposit. Yeah. That would give you a loan of $2 million, money that you need to borrow. And if you're repaying that loan at the moment at say 4% interest, you know, you're really looking at anywhere between $90,000 to $100,000 a year in interest only on that $2 million debt. If you look at if interest rates go up by 0.25% or by 0.5%, that's obviously going to have an effect on the amount of money that you need to use to repay that loan. But Rick, it wasn't that long ago that we're actually paying more like 7.5%.
Oh, Damien, I had 17.5%.
Yeah, that's right.
And there was a difference, in all fairness, because when I had 17.5% and my debt was $75,000, now I'm at under 4%. There's unfortunately a few more zeros. So I guess stock's been tight, and it's continuing to be tight. I do think with rate movement, a little bit more will come on. I still think it's going to be an amazing year. What's your take? What are some of the stats at the moment? Yeah, well, we're averaging 5 bidders registering at our auctions.
Interesting and we've got a clearance rate at the moment of 80%.
Wow. Is that in Sydney or in the east? Or?
In the eastern suburbs has actually been stronger. Yeah. The eastern suburbs is outperforming, in my view, at the moment, a lot of the other geographical locations within the Sydney metro markets.
Right.
But that's largely, I think, driven by the fact that a lot of people see the east as a very a stable, good place to invest. Particularly, we're seeing the prices of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments flying at the moment. And to be frank, the yields aren't that great in terms of the investment return, but people are looking for capital growth and stability.
We make a valid point when you say stability. I can't fathom when we're selling properties and getting, say, 17 to 18, 20,000 a square metre, and not dissimilar in other suburbs further back without our quality of lifestyle, they're getting the same. So I actually think, even though prices are very strong, I actually think we're still undervalued. And I know a lot of people don't believe me when I say that, but for the lifestyle that we have and the convenience and the stability, I think the East is still good buying, long term.
Yeah, look, the East is a great place to invest. There is no question about that. We've got the best beaches in the world. We've got Sydney Harbour at our doorstep. We're less than 5 k's away from the Sydney CBD. We live in an incredible part of Sydney and an incredible place in the world. And that is one of the big reasons why people love to flock to the eastern suburbs and Sydney as a whole. And don't forget that the government are doing great things, in my view, to improve infrastructure. We've got the light rail coming through throughout the southeastern suburbs, which is a great thing for the local market.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you think that would be one of your hotspots in terms of if you were buying, or do you think that market's kind of had a run for a little while?
Oh, the market's had a run. There's no question about it. I don't think that there is one suburb that people should be going to invest in. I think that you need to take a really broader look on it and look at the eastern suburbs as a whole. And the eastern sea, like from Chifley, La Perouse, Matraville, Coogee, coming into the markets now, moving further up, Tamarama, Bondi Beach. These are all quality suburbs, great areas. You've got the University of New South Wales not far away. You've got Prince of Wales Hospital. You've got great infrastructure, light rail coming, schools. These are all good reasons why people should be buying in these areas. And one of the big reasons that we've seen such incredible price growth, particularly in 1-2 bedroom apartments, and obviously house prices are phenomenal.
You had an auction recently for Georgie Cleary from Bradford Cleary.
Yep.
Recently you started to tell me about. What was that?
Yeah, it was a 1 bedroom unit in Darling Point that sold for $1,616,000. It was an incredible result. Wow. And this is in a great building, but I think it was 64 square metres from memory. Great views, but still unrenovated, needed to be renovated. But that's one example of many that we've had auctions in Bondi and in and around the local market. The properties have sold for huge prices above reserve. I think when you look at where we're at in the market right now, 80% of the properties that sold at auction in February either sold at their reserve or above their reserve price. That is a big indicator to show just how strong the market is. But Rick, I also think it's important not to get ahead of ourselves. You talk about the possibility of interest rates going up, banks tightening their lending policy on who's giving the money and how easily accessible that money is going to be. We're seeing a lot of first home buyers who are trying to enter the market that can't, but I'm also seeing a lot of families, mums, dads, who are really helping their kids now to invest in property, and that's a great thing.
Put my hand up there. Actually, you mentioned a very valid point when it comes to the banking fraternity, and neither one of us are bankers nor valuers, but I have seen some new rules come into play, and everyone should be aware that generally when they buy a property at auction, the valuers do take that as market value. Whereas if you're trying to get a valuation done prior to exchanging on that property, they're relying on that valuer's opinion more so. So speak to your brokers and get a little bit of clarification on that. How are you seeing the next couple of months?
Yeah, the next couple of months are going to play out quite interesting. We've got 2 weeks left really before we hit the Easter period. Traditionally, this is a really strong time for volume, and we're going to see auction numbers really substantially increase this Saturday and next week and the following Saturday. The peak will be Saturday the 8th of April. That will be a big bumper day. On the 4th of April in our rooms here on that night, and our in rooms I think on the 6th of April, we've got lots of auctions going up. So it's going to be an important test for the market, but I really feel that the market will pass and pass with shining colours. When you look at post-Easter, a lot of people who have been thinking about coming onto the market will be coming onto the market in that end of April, possibly early May period, which is then going to be giving us the run into that winter marketplace. I see the market in a really good position. I don't think that we're going to fall off a cliff. I don't think we're going to have this huge price correction that people talk about, certainly not anytime soon in my view. But I don't think that we can enter this next period with huge confidence either. We need to be realistic about prices because we are seeing reserve prices starting to increase. And we're absolutely seeing a lot of the buyer fatigue in the market where buyers have just fed up with some of the prices that are being achieved, and it's becoming increasingly more difficult to get those buyers to commit and compete so well at auction.
Hence why often we're selling a lot of properties before auction as well.
Well, 38% in fact of
yeah.
properties sold pre-auction in February, and we're seeing that trend continuing through March. I always like to look at what I call, what's the smart money doing?
Yeah.
Well, what are the people who have been in the market for a long time, great wealth in the property market? Developers are usually a good sign for how the market is performing. What are they doing? Are they starting to sell some of their assets? Are they looking at continuing to buy some of these development sites and sell off the plan? I'm starting to see a few of these assets start to trade.
I am also. I agree with you. There's been a lot of development sites coming through my desk. But it's interesting how developers are starting, in my opinion, and I think yours as well, they're becoming a little bit pickier on their location.
Yep.
And some of the people that we're working with are starting to let go of their options in the outer suburbs and focus more solid, real eastern suburbs rather than the fringes. So I'm kind of with you. I think the market's going to stay strong. I also think a comment that one of my sales staff mentioned the other day said the market's been so tight for 3 years. Last year we were down 45% on supply. And I'm kind of starting to think that this is pretty much going to be our normal market. This is the new market conditions. The demand is so great that we cannot fulfill the supply. The redevelopment side of it is there's not enough being built. So, look, I'm putting my money on buying something else this year, if the banks will allow me. But I am also being a little bit cautious in the outer suburbs personally. Damien, thank you. I know how busy you are, and maybe we can catch up again next month and do another market wrap. Good luck for this weekend.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, everyone, for watching.